This is for educational use only. Our group is allowing our instructor, Mr. Roldan Ardines, to use this as an educational material.
So here's Aristotle's philosophy about self. Aristotle's philosophy of self is based on the idea that the human self is a combination of body and soul, which are inseparable. Aristotle's views on the body and soul are rooted in his metaphysical understanding of form and matter. So Aristotle believed that everything in the physical world is composed of form and matter. Matter refers to the physical substance, while form is the organizing principle or essence that gives a thing its identity and function. Applied to living beings, the body is the matter, the physical, tangible aspect, and the soul is the form, the organizing principle that gives life and purpose. The soul is what makes a body a living, functioning organisms rather than just a collection of physical components. So here's Aristotle's view on the self in society that highlights the deep connection between individual development and community life. Aristotle famously stated that the humans are social animals, meaning that individuals naturally seek relationship and community. He believed that people cannot achieve their full potentials in isolation. Humans thrive by interacting, collaborating, and forming connections with others. For Aristotle, the self is shaped and refined through social relationships, as individuals grow by exchanging ideas, learning virtues, and fulfilling their roles within a group. And lastly, here's Aristotle's view of the self and virtue that emphasize the importance of moral development and the role of community in shaping a virtues of life. Aristotle argued that the ultimate goal of a human life is eudaimonia, often translated as happiness or flourishing. He believed that eudaimonia is achieved through virtuous activity, which involves living accordance with reason and practicing moral and intellectual virtues, such as courage, temperance, and justice, are habits or qualities that enable individuals to act rightly and fulfill their potential. For Aristotle, living virtuously is the highest form of self-realization and the path to a meaningful life.
The unexamined life. Socrates famously stated, "The unexamined life is not worth living." Socrates believed that without self-reflection or questioning one's belief, values, and action leads to shallow existence. Means living without meaning or purpose. It's a life focused only on everyday things, without thinking deeply about your beliefs, values, or actions. Socrates believed that without self-reflection, life feels empty and unfilling. He encouraged individuals to critically examine their lives to understand their purpose, improve their character, and align their actions with virtue. For Socrates, the examination of life was not just an intellectual exercise, but a moral and spiritual obligation to achieve meaningful existence. The self as a seeker of truth. Socrates believed that the self-purpose is to seek truth and wisdom. He saw philosophy as a way of life where the pursuit of knowledge and understanding is integral to the self-fulfillment. So when we say truth in Socratic philosophy is foundational and revolves around the pursuit of understanding through ethical and critical questioning. He believed that getting to the truth requires a systematic approach, as two individuals can recount the same event as vastly different ways, raising questions about the nature of truth itself. Socrates would literally walk the streets of Athens and engage in conversations with people from all walks of life. He spoke with craftsmen, artisans, vendors, poets, politicians, and young Athenians, asking them questions about their beliefs, philosophies, and origins of those beliefs. His goal was to help others recognize their own ignorance as the first step towards wisdom. He believed that questioning and critically examining beliefs, one could move closer to truth. Socrates claimed to possess no wisdom of his own, and often described his role as that of a midwife, assisting others and giving birth to their own understanding. As he grew older, his method of persistent questioning targeting Athens' values and influential figures, earned him many enemies. This series of questioning became known as the Socratic method, a process that allows individuals to uncover the true foundation of their belief. Moral self-knowledge. Socrates emphasized the idea that true knowledge begins with self-knowledge. Just like I said before, knowing one's self-ignorance is the first step towards wisdom. Socrates asserted that knowing oneself is the foundation of wisdom. He believed that self-awareness helps individuals recognize their ignorance, prompting them to seek improvement. He linked self-knowledge to morality, arguing that understanding one's values and motivation is essential to living a virtuous life. This focus on introspection aligns with the broader philosophical mission of guiding individuals towards ethical behavior and cultivating of the soul. So, in summary, by examining our beliefs in seeking wisdom, we grow morally aligned with deeper truths, laying the foundation for personal and ethical development.
Plato, the soul is immortal. Plato believed that the self is made up of an immortal soul in a physical body. He believed that the soul is the true essence of a person, and that it exists before birth and it continues after death. A student of Socrates, Socrates was the mentor and philosophical guide of Plato. It is through Socrates that Plato developed his philosophical. Philosophy of the self can be examined as a process of self-knowledge and purification of the soul. Plato's philosophy of the self is a process of self-knowledge and purification of the soul because it involves knowing oneself in the forms and striving to contemplate them. He believed in the existence of mind and soul. Plato's belief in the existence of mind and soul as distinct and immortal entities because of his dualistic view of reality. He argued that the physical body is temporary and perishable, while the mind and soul are eternal and belong to a higher non-material realm. Mind and soul is given in perfection with God. Plato believed that the mind and soul are inherently connected to perfection and the divine because they originate from a higher eternal source, the world of forms, which is governed by the ultimate perfection, often equated with the concept of God. True happiness. Plato believed that true happiness only be achieved when the rational soul controls the other two parts. Example, when the student allows their rational soul to take charge, they stay disciplined, manage their time effectively, and achieve a sense of fulfillment from their efforts, leading to a true happiness, true harmony, and success. Plato believed that justice in the individual reflects the health of the state. Example, human rights, equality, and protection against discrimination. Leadership and values foster a healthier, more inclusive state, demonstrating how individual justice and integrity can directly influence the collective justice and health of a nation. Plato believed that the self is an immortal soul, made up of three parts: the rational, the spirited, and the appetitive, which is called the tripartite soul. Rational or logical, it's located in the head. This part of soul allows for thinking, analyzing, and reflecting. It also allows for the understanding of eternal truths and making wise choices. Spirited or emotional, it's located in the chest. This part of soul allows for experiencing emotions like joy, anger, and sadness. Appetitive or physical desires, it's located in the abdomen. This part of souls allow for experiencing physical wants like hunger, thirst, and pain.
Augustine's view of the human person reflects the entire spirit of the medieval world when it comes to man. Following the ancient view of Plato and infusing it with the newfound doctrine of Christianity, Augustine agreed that the man is a bifurcated nature. An aspect of man dwells in the world and is imperfect and continuously yearns to be with the divine, and the other is capable of reaching immortality. According to him, the body is bound to die on earth and the soul is to anticipate living eternally in a realm of the spiritual bliss in communion with God. This is because the body can only thrive in the imperfect, physical reality that is the world, whereas the soul can also stay after death in an eternal realm with the all-transcendent God. The goal of every human person is to attain this communion and bless with the divine by living his life on earth in virtue. St. Augustine's philosophy about the self is rooted in his Christian worldview, particularly his reflections on the nature of the soul, the search for the truth, and the relationship between humanity and God. Here are the key aspects of Augustine's perspective on the self. Number 1. The self as a spiritual being. Augustine believed that the self is primarily a soul, created by God, and its true essence is spiritually rather than material. The body is part of human nature, but the soul is a state of reason, free will, and connection to God. Number 2. The restless heart. One of Augustine's famous ideas is expressed in Confessions. Our hearts are restless until they rest in you, O Lord. He argued that the self is inherently restless, constantly seeking meaning and fulfillment, which can only be found in God. Number 3. Inner reflection and self-knowledge. Augustine emphasized the importance of introspection and inner reflection to understand the self. He believed that by turning inward and examining one's thoughts and desires, a person could encounter God and discover deeper truths about their nature. Number 4. The self and sin. Augustine saw the self as deeply affected by original sin, leading to a tendency toward selfishness and disordered desires. This condition could only be overcome through divine grace and relationship with God. Number 5. The memory and identity. In Confessions, Augustine explored the role of memory in shaping the self. He viewed memories as a vast inner realm where past experience, knowledges, and even the presence of God are stored. This reflection memory was central to his understanding of personal identity. Number 6. Free will and responsibility. Augustine argued that the self possesses free will, which allows individuals to choose between good and evil. However, he also acknowledged the limitations of free will due to sin and necessity of divine grace to achieve true freedom and righteousness. Number 7. The self in relation to God. For Augustine, the self is incomplete without a relationship with God. True selfhood is achieved when a person aligns their will with God's will and lives in harmony with divine love and truth. He also said that a soul can't live in this world without a body, for it is considered as a unity of body and self. It is an important element of man which governs and defines himself. We all know that we are created in the image and likeness of God, for we are geared toward the good. For example, as we are living this world, we should take good care of ourselves, not just physically, as well as mentally, for it is the house for the soul, and when the right time comes, we won't regret anything, for it has been useful.
Anthony de Mello believed that happiness comes from within, and that people should focus on understanding their true nature. He believed that people's thoughts are shaped by their heart, not their intellect, and that people should question their self-identity. Anthony de Mello believed that happiness comes from within, and that people should focus on understanding their true nature. He believed that people's thoughts are shaped by their heart, not their intellect, and that people should question their self-identity. Happiness comes from within. De Mello believed that happiness is found within ourselves, not in things like possessions, jobs, or recognitions. The heart shapes thoughts. De Mello believed that the heart is the source of our deepest values, passions, and subconscious beliefs. Attachments prevents true experience. De Mello believed that attachments to people, things, or ideas prevents people from experiencing life as truly is. Anthony de Mello's perspective on human nature were deeply rooted in spiritual and psychological insights. He viewed human beings often trapped by their conditioned responses, social programming, and ego-driven desires. His teachings emphasized the importance of awakening to the present moment and recognizing the illusionary nature of many humans.
I am going to present about Descartes. So, René Descartes' human perspective is based on reason, dualism, and free will. He believed that humans are unique because of their ability to think and reason, which is what defines their existence. This idea is captured in his famous phrase, "I think, therefore I am." He also introduced the concept of mind-body dualism, arguing that the thoughts, consciousness, and the body physical functions are separated but not connected. The mind is responsible for thinking, while the body operates like a machine following the natural laws. Descartes believed that some knowledge is innate, meaning Humans are born with certain ideas, like understanding of logic, math, and even the idea of God. This opposes the idea that all knowledge comes from experience. He also emphasized free will, arguing that have the power to make their own moral choices. According to Descartes, gaining true knowledge helps people make better decisions and live a virtuous life. Finally, he believed in skepticism, meaning that humans should question everything instead of accepting beliefs blindly. Through reasoning and careful analysis, people can reach absolute truth and a deeper understanding of themselves and the world. I have Descartes' contributions. The first is cogito ergo sum, translated into I think therefore I am. This means that Descartes wanted to find something that could not be doubted. He realized that even if he doubted everything, the fact that he was doubting meant he was thinking. Since thinking proved existence, he concluded, I think, therefore I am. This became a foundation for modern philosophy. The second is mind-body dualism. This means that Descartes argued that the mind, thought, consciousness, and the body, physical matter, are the two separate things. He believed that the mind controls the body, but they interact in a complex way. This idea influenced psychology, neuroscience, and debates about human consciousness.
First, Locke believed that the self isn't about your body or soul. Instead, it's about consciousness, your ability to think and be aware of yourself. For Locke, as long as you can reflect on and remember your experiences, you remain the same person. Second, he said that memory is what connects your past and present self. For example, if you remember something you did yesterday, it's proof that you are the same person who experienced it. This makes memory the foundation of personal identity. Locke also connected this idea to responsibility. He said that we're accountable for our actions because we are conscious of them. If you know you're doing something, you're responsible for it. Simple, right? Finally, Locke believed that every individual has the right to make their own choices and live their own life. These ideas about the personal freedom and rights have influenced how we think about human rights and democracy today.
The greatest perspective on the self was the self is unstable, unpredictable, and that can it not be fully embrace otherness. The greatest ideas about the self were influenced by its destruction theory, which is challenge definition and idea of an undefined self. Self and other, the greatest believe that the self can only embrace otherness because its understanding of the other always is mediated by own experience. They also believe that self is permanently marked by an alertness of excess. Third one is indeterminacy. The readers believe that there is no fixed center of the self, and that any intimacy when it comes to words must spill over the intimacy about things. Appearance or temporally finitude leaves self and other forever, open to change. He believed that this openness exposes us to potentially violating effects of alternity.
Maurice Merleau-Ponty, 1908-1961, believed that the self is embodied subjectivity, meaning the body is a key part of the subjective self. His ideas about the self were rooted in the reflexivity of the human body and relationship between the body and the world. Key ideas: the body is primary site of knowing. Merleau-Ponty believed that the body is the original knowing subject and the body and the world cannot be separated. The body and mind are unified. Merleau-Ponty believed that the body and mind are a natural synthesis and that consciousness actively structures our ideas and behaviors. Live word is the fundamental ground of consciousness and being. The self is individual and public. Merleau-Ponty believed that the self is both individual and public, and that is articulated through language.